before the next set of cars go off 10 seconds after the pole man goes. Another group of cars will wait for the 15-second flag to come out, and so on before we get to the back of the field there. What does this promote? Great racing.
And the whole idea of this, Nolts, is that staggered start, and the theory behind it is that we have Angus Fogg and Mike Oldman both crossing the finish line on the last lap at the same time together with a bit of a grandstand finish. We'll see how that all plays out. The theory is one thing. What it doesn't take into account is all the traffic that they're going to come across and the racing. It has happened, but rare does it happen. Trevor Swan led us away from pole last year, ended up winning it by 10 seconds with so much action in the mid-pack. There's Dean Perkins putting some heat into the tyres in that ex-police car. Car 73, engine change for this one, sorry, 75 on the circuit. He'll start 45 seconds from the back. Angus Fogg will start 50 seconds in the back. This is not unfamiliar territory for Dean Perkins, though. He did exactly this in today's earlier race. Started at the back, went all the way through to the front, but didn't have the time intervals as part of it. So we'll see, we'll see. I love it. I love the spectacle of this. You know, there's a whole heap of very expensive machinery out there racing around. Everyone gives each other enough room. They race cleanly, and it's exciting. It was a rehearsal, maybe, in race number 1 for Perkins today. So we'll keep an eye on the front, guys. I think the hard part here for me, and I've never done it, obviously you have, is watching the other cars take off. The natural instinct would be to go as soon as you see the first cars go, wouldn't it? Well, and we have had that in the past. So I've never been involved in a staggered start. There's an issue going on here while we're on board, trying to get the window net up. And it looks like inside Clark Hopkins' car, perhaps. It is. So Clark's struggling to get that window net up, and there'll be people at home going, why has it come down? Well, the drivers all get in a pre-grid. It looks like Clark's just put that out of his mind for the minute. He will have quite a bit of time sitting on the grid, about 25 seconds to be correct, before the group ahead of him will go. There'll be a further 15 seconds. So he's got about only a minute up his sleeve before he'll have to go. He'll get it up, no problem. Great watching the tap dancing with those fluoro feet he's got on there. He's going to try and plug the window net back in. Easier said than done. He's got it. It's just got a little clip detent on it, so it is usually something that you make and design so that the driver can get it up in this same case if they need to. Plenty of air induction going in. It's like a beehive. Why do they have that? More air you can put in, the more fuel you can put in. Those two items, more power. And this track is fast, and suddenly the clouds circulating around the complex right now. First car gets waved away from the start line. Mike Oldham will kick us off the Mustang. 5 seconds later, the next group of cars go away, including Greg Running and Paul Bowden, who's the president of the club. He leaves, and now the next group, and so on and so on. We play the waiting game for the guys at the back, and it'll feel like an eternity before they take off. Perkins and Fogg, the next group of cars get away, including Andrew Sinclair in that replica Chickadee Commodore from 1986. Now the next group of cars. You can't afford to lose too much time from the start, though. No, you certainly cannot, and the big difference with this staggered start compared to today's earlier race is we're seeing a whole heap less cars lighting them up and leaving licorice straps behind. Here are the powerhouses at the back. There's some telltale signs, those black marks as they try to step off the clutch and perch all that energy and power through the rear tyres into the bitumen. So everybody's away from the start while the rest of the group are down at turn number 6 right now. The last 2 cars are just going through turn number 1. We'll pick up the leading pack of cars heading down to the turn 8 Husqvarna hairpin. Here on lap number 1, there's a spinner in the background of that shot. And all too often we've seen that here today. That's the 168 of Holland going around. So he dropped several positions in the process. Thankfully, though, that gap back to the next group of cars was big enough that he was able to grab first gear, crack that throttle open, flick spin it around and continue on. But he has lost some time. So we'll keep an eye on Holland. That won't be factored in to this staggered start, as I mentioned. There's a few variables. Mike Oldham leads the race. It's his debut season. In fact, his first ever race this weekend. It's a car that Angus Fogg has built. Fogg has built a lot of cars in this category over the past few years. Right in the Group 2 class. That's why he's got the blue strip across the windscreen. We follow back through the field. There's Hopkins coming through. Tristan Tecchi just behind. Then it's Boyden. We go back to Holland.
Here comes the first, the HQ Monaros. There's the Forenza of Andy Knight that started from the front row, led the race earlier today in a very unique car. Here comes Perkins. He's up to 19th position with your car, the Saturday Night Special. Tony Goldbrave just ahead.
So let's have a look at this replay here. This is a replay of an early incident from Holland. So he's shortcut the circuit down at turn 3, pushing on hard, and then he's arrived at turn 5, still pushing on quite hard, and trying to crack the throttle on the exit. Too much power, round we go.
Second one maybe more for show, wasn't it? I'm just kidding, but look at that. That's the second part of the lap for him there. He dropped out 3 positions alone in that little spin. He runs in 13th position.
I'm going to give that a 9 for style.
9?
And not the first time he's done it either. It looked far too comfortable. How's the 98? The Mercury.
First chance we've had to look at this car. It's Cam Crawford debuting this Mercury Cyclone in the field. The Sinclair just at the last minute caught him by surprise and made the move in the Chickadee Commodore. It's a replica car. It's not the actual race-winning car from the 1986 Bathurst 1000. We've seen Sinclair on a few occasions here. Now, the view from Ava Stroncam. Watching this angry pack of Central Muscle Cars weaving their way down to turn number 5. The fast guys, well, they're coming from the back. They're 18th at the moment for Perkins, and Fogg runs in 20th.
This is really interesting for me to be following the 98 because that Mercury looks like it's turning worse than a speedboat at the moment, trying to get up onto plane. Every time we see it, you see his hands at the steering wheel, and he's turning a lot of lock at the steering wheel. The car's just not pointing, just not direct enough to get him to the apex. He's got to slow the car up compared to everybody else around him. It's causing a little bit of a bottleneck. Not much you can do about it. Part of that will just be in the general engineering of the car. But it is beautifully presented. Wow, that gap is closing rapidly.
Brand new car, another Angus Fogg built Mercury, almost had its christening on the 3rd lap.
And it's through here that it really shows up, Knowles. Look how much of a roadblock the Mercury is. Just doesn't want to change direction too nicely. Won't continue to flow through turns 3 and 4. And like the previous lap, we get onto the straight. There's plenty of straight line speed, just does not turn.
What I'd like to see is that car and our own Alan Bowden and the Mercury Comet back in Australia together. We'll be able to get the cars through Forest Elbow. Meantime, it's busy down through turn 5 and 16. Perkins is at the back of this group. He's 18th. He's the fastest car on the circuit, but with nowhere to go. He's got Shane Winston just ahead. The 73 machine has started in 22nd place, so they're not making the inroads that we thought they would.
But this is why this format of racing for a category like NZ Central Muscle Cars is so good, because now, after a couple of laps, with 3 laps to go, we've got these really intense little battle pack. You've got to pick your way through. It's not just leader will lead and everybody else will follow. There's a whole heap of little battles going on here. Some of the battles that are happening, it's like arriving to the circuit this morning. There's so many people fighting over the same piece of road.
Well, there's the Monaro side by side with the Forenza. Another Monaro just ahead. So Andy Knight in the HQ sandwich will go right over the top of this pack of cars, working their way down the back straight. Lap 5 of 8, the NZ Central Muscle Cars. Race number 2 of the weekend. 3 wide down the back straight. The big Camaro stretching the legs. You've got the VK Commodore trying to dive down the inside of Steve Ross, and should get it done. And finally, they get past the Mercury, or do they?
And Angus Fogg is lingering in the background here, looking to disperse of these guys as quickly as he can. He wants to chase down Perkins, who's a little bit up the road. Around the outside with a few flames coming out. Surely there's an Eminem lyric in there somewhere.
We saw the flames yesterday, didn't we, during qualifying from this number 11, and right on cue. This is what it looked like yesterday.
I spoke about this yesterday, Knowles, and let's say this car consumes 3.5 litres of fuel per lap without any flame out. I'm picking at the moment, it's running on about 7.5 litres. There's more burn out the exhaust than there is being used to propel it around the lap. I'm happy with it, though.
The engineers are asking, why do you want 80 litres of fuel for an 8-lap race? You'll find out.
It's probably closer to 200 litres for an 8-lap race. That's because every time he gets off the throttle, 30 litres comes out the back in flames. It's great.
Visually, it's cool. Lap 6 of 8. The fast guy still coming through. Fogg is up to 14th place. Perkins is up to 11th, with Shane Wigston just behind. Busy times. They'll do this again tomorrow as part of the NZ Central Muscle Cars.
Oh, Perkins in the background, squirming under brakes, was caught out a little bit by the 68 in front of him. Had to take evasive action so that he didn't make contact with the rear of that car. Did it very, very well and ended up picking up a position off the back of it.
It's Paul Bowden just ahead. He's the club president of the Central Muscle Cars and just allowing the fast cars to come on by. It's his second season in Central Muscle Cars. We go back to the near front of the field. Calvin Andrew leads this race, incidentally. The 71 Holden has about 2 seconds on Ross Graham. Clark Hopkins, who we sit in car with right now, runs in third. It's Sinclair in fourth. Tristan Tecchi runs in 5. It's Andy Knight. Dean Perkins has charged his way from the back row of the field and now looking to move up into 6th position. A top 5 result beckons.
So Perkins has made inroads onto Andy Knight, but in the previous lap, it looks like Angus Fogg has actually lost a little bit of time being bottlenecked in this next battle that's we're about to see. You can see him just in the background there, that beautifully turned out black and gold.
The leader has in fact taken the shortcut, starting to jump over the top. So the number 71, the NZ replica car with the number 11 on it, not to be confused with Angus Fogg, has taken the shortcut on the older circuit here at Pukekohe and has dropped himself back into 4th position at a critical moment in the race. 2 Tiranas arguing over the lead now into 1. 500ths of a second separated them, but now Hopkins moves into the lead on the final lap. The gunmetal grey two-door Tirana leads, but look who's in 4th position. Dean Perkins is circling around the top 3. He could get 2 for the price of 1 here, AJ.
Yeah, there's 2 battles going on here. Andy Knight needs to pick his way through the Tiranas in the Oldsmobile, but he also needs to keep an eye on the mirror behind him. Make sure he does everything to cover Dean Perkins at the same time. Tricky, tricky racing. And you don't want to put your car in the wrong spot here, because the last thing anybody needs to do, having battled away, is make contact.
Down to turn 8 hairpin. Well, this is great for Graham. As out of the turn comes Hopkins. Behind him is Knight. What's the Forenza got for the Tirana? Who carries one of our in-car cameras. Has Dean Perkins got something for us at the finish line? I'm not sure. He'll pull out for a look, but it's going to be Tirana victory here today. He covers him off at the finish line, and Hopkins will do it by car lead. In race 2 of the NZ Central Muscle Cars, it was 900ths of a second at the finish line between 1st and 2nd. Perkins from the back finishes 3rd. Fogg from the back of the field finishes 7th.
And that finish that we just encountered there, Nolts, that's exactly what this is about. This is why there's a staggered time start, is to promote a grandstand finish like that, where we have 4 cars that really shouldn't be racing against each other, all battling to go across the line. And a great job by Graham to take the win.
He's finished 3rd. So he's finished runner-up. Yes, runner-up in this series on 3 occasions. I know it's in the series, but today he picks up a win from 16th on the grid. Clark Hopkins by 900ths of a second in the handicap reverse grid race for the NZ Central Muscle Cars. Ahead of Andy Knight, Dean Perkins and Shane Wigston, 3rd and 4th. Ross Graham was 5th, Tristan Tecchi in 6th. Back to Fogg. Calvin Andrew, well, he threw that one away, didn't he, going down the escape road. He'll finish inside the top 10. Go back to Holland in 13th. Mike Oldham, who started from pole, finished in 14th. Back to Bowden in 16th. Cam Crawford in 19th. And Greg Holden, 31 seconds down in 20th position. Some of the guys that didn't get a look in for race number 2. Wow, well done to Hopkins. We didn't think about where he came from in that race, but 16th, hell of a drive.
And incredibly unfazed by that window net that was left down. We saw him fix that up. Away he went. Didn't even miss a heartbeat.
Taking the highlights from this race now as we set them off in a staggered start. Angus Fogg with some 50 seconds behind the field. when we got underway. This was Holland, his first excursion off down at turn 2. Hopkins almost did it, but then we saw Holland spin around for a second time, lighting up the bags and rejoining the race. Down the field, he'd finish in 13th.
Lighting up the bags, cranking on some opposite lock and driving out of it. There was the Mercury on the inside. A little bit of work to be done with that car to get it turning a little bit more. No work needed for Angus Fogg. Beautiful flames coming out of the back of that car. I could watch it all day long.
They've turned that up, I think, from yesterday. There wasn't pumping down anywhere near the flames like that yesterday. This was Ross and the number 66 Holden diving down the inside the big Mercury Cyclone. This was Perkins slicing his way through the field from 23rd up into the top 5. And this is the moment for Calvin Andrew we didn't see. This was the first moment he had in car number 71. But he'd throw it all away going down the back straight. The two Tiranas. This will be a pivotal moment of the race, though.
This was a massive moment for Hopkins to be able to get the job done on the last lap and make that Tirana incredibly wide to keep Knight and Perkins behind him.
And 900ths of a second is the margin at the finish line in race 2. Give it to Clark Hopkins here today.